Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy podcast. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a newer, stronger foundation essential in creating your meaningful legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. As much as you like this podcast, I'm certain that you're going to love the book that I just released on Amazon, Fuel Your Legacy, The 9 Pillars to Build a Meaningful Legacy. I wrote this to share with you the experiences that I had while I was identifying my identity, how I began to create my meaningful legacy, and how you can create yours. You're going to find this book on Kindle, Amazon, and our website, samknickerbocker.com. Welcome back to Fuel Your Legacy. Today we have an incredible guest called Matt Scoletti. And I first reached out to him, or I don't know who reached out to, but I saw him on Instagram, loved his story, loved what he's been able to accomplish, and thought that, man, this would be somebody who can share a passion, share a dream about what it's like to make some transformations in his life. And his story is one of somebody hitting rock bottom and then turning it around. He was an alcoholic for a decade. What I love about that phrase is was an alcoholic for a decade. So many people, they think once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. I don't believe that. But after hitting rock bottom in 2011, he completed some crazy fitness feats. He ran multiple marathons, been on 24-hour bike races, obstacle courses, set 2 world records. He's now a motivational speaker who travels the country speaking in schools, businesses, nonprofits to inspire audiences, push past their limiting beliefs, and attack your potential. I know he's going to get into this because I'm going to ask him, but he also was on American Ninja Warrior, and that is cool. I mean, some people you see, I watched that show. I think it's a fascinating show, but you think, man, I'll never meet that person, so what does it matter, right? But the cool thing is with social media now, if you see somebody in the public eye that you want to meet, you just Instagram them and then start a conversation, and most of them, just like Matt, are super down to earth, super willing to chat, and even willing to add value where they can. So with that, Matt, super excited for you to be here, be on the show, and to be able to share your nuggets of transformation with us and what it's been like building your legacy. Go ahead and introduce yourself, kind of tell us your backstory, your dark points in your life, and how you came to the light.
Sure, and thanks for having me on, Sam. I appreciate it. I'm excited. So yeah, I'll give you a little background first. So growing up, I'm from just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Go Steelers. I'm a diehard Steeler fan. Hopefully you don't hate the Steelers, Sam. We didn't talk about that yet.
No, I don't hate them.
Okay, good.
I don't have a team, really. So
okay. Well, maybe I can make you a Steeler fan by the end of the podcast.
I don't know. My business coach is a Patriots fan. He's got a convincing case. He's got a convincing case, as in multiple national championships.
The Patriots. That's the one team. All right, we got to move on because I don't want to start talking about that.
Yeah, I know.
So grew up just outside of Pittsburgh and basically had a great childhood. I mean, my parents were awesome. I have an older brother, 2 years older than me. I was so blessed because, in my opinion, high school was awesome. I mean, I worked my butt off. I got really good grades. I was captain of the basketball team. And looking back at high school, maybe I didn't realize it at the time, but basically everything was going really good for me. I mean, I was healthy, somewhat athletic, had great friends, close family, and really had it all. And then I went to transition into college. I went down to Richmond, University of Richmond down in Virginia. And for the first time really in my life, I was exposed to what the partying scene in college was like. And I won't forget my first time going out. Freshman year, my parents had just drove away, and I thought, freedom, I get to do whatever I want now. And the first thing I did was drink 2-3 beers with friends. I had never really drank before, so I started having this feeling of being drunk, which was new to me. And I noticed that I was even more outgoing. I was more loud. I started to not care and be carefree doing whatever I wanted to do. And I basically thought it was a cool feeling. And from that point on, for the next 4 years of my college career, that drinking, instead of becoming a fun thing you do with friends, became something that I had to do in order to be social. And I didn't realize that really until senior year, that I basically got to the point where I could not have, in my head, now this is the story I was telling myself, I cannot be fun without being drunk. And that's a scary, sick story that I was telling myself. And I don't think I knew at that point how serious this problem was becoming. So senior year, basically, I was just happy to graduate because it got to the point of drinking 4, 5, 6 nights a week, if not more, even sometimes during the day. And it got out of control. Now, at that point, I told myself, this is just college. Everybody does this in college. I'll get out of it once I get into the real world. What I didn't realize was I couldn't get out of it. I had this poor mindset and bad habits. And for 6 years out of college, my drinking did not get any better. I basically told myself the same story of, if I'm not drinking, I'm not fun. And it eventually hit the ultimate low in 2011. So to give you a little story of what happened, in the summer of 2011, I started journaling about how I felt in the morning waking up with a hangover. And I don't even know the reason why I started journaling, but it turned out to be a really good thing. So I wake up in the morning on typically Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning, hungover, and I would write these raw feelings on how bad my head hurt and how I didn't want to do anything and how I felt like a loser and I just wanted to lay on the couch all day. And it was this pattern that began to happen. So October of 2011, it's a day after a Halloween party. I wake up on the floor of my living room, which is not abnormal, by the way. It's embarrassing to say, but I woke up on my floor quite often. And for the first time, I open up my journal that I had been writing in for about 5 months straight beforehand, and I started reading the journal entries. So I saw my own handwriting, the pattern that my life had become. And for 5 months span, when I journaled, those journal entries would have been the same had they gone back 10 years because I was doing the same thing. I was drinking to basically try to make myself feel better, and it was turning into this life that had no purpose. So I had no goals. I had no drive. I had no ambition. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I used this constant drinking to just kind of get me to the next day. So that morning when I read all those journal entries, I'm crying my eyes out, but in a good way, because I realized I was the one that put myself in this situation, which was empowering because that meant that I'm the one that can change it. And from that day on, October 2011, I promised myself that I wouldn't let alcohol ruin my life anymore. And it was to the point where I looked myself in the face that morning in the mirror, and I was embarrassed at who was looking back. For the first time, I didn't even want to look at myself in the mirror because I knew how empty I was inside. So the first thing I tried to do, and I came up with a keystone habit that I wanted to change, which is getting alcohol out of my life. That was the keystone habit. What I didn't realize was all the different things that would happen once I focused on that one keystone habit of getting alcohol out of my life. And to give you the snapshot of what happened was, first, I got alcohol out of my life. Secondly, I started going to bed earlier because I wasn't drinking and staying up late, which meant I started getting up earlier in the morning, which meant I started working out in the morning before I even went to work. I started eating healthier, and my whole world basically started changing because of this one keystone habit that I decided to get out of my life, which was alcohol. Let me just tell you a funny story. The first funny thing that happened, we'll talk about American Ninja Warrior if you want to talk about that, but the first cool thing that happened was, so I'm getting healthier. This is going on for about 6 months or a year at this point. I'm feeling good. My body's changing. I lost like 40 pounds, looking much more muscular, and I started shooting videos for my Facebook page. And I had the camera basically stacked on a bunch of books facing me using resistance bands, and I was trying to show my audience the proper way to do a bicep curl using resistance bands. My foot slips off of the resistance band, the band comes up, hits me right in the side of the face, and I catch this all on video. So I have a massive red mark across the side of my face. I can't shoot any more videos that day because I look like an idiot. And what happened was I uploaded the video anyways to Facebook, even though it was silly. People started laughing. Somebody said, you should send this into America's Funniest Home Videos. I thought, I didn't even know it was still playing, but I figured I would send it in. don't they call me like 2 months later and say, hey, Matt, I think her name was Sasha from America's Funniest Home Videos. We just saw your video. We loved it. We want to fly you and a friend out to Los Angeles for the taping of our show. So it was it was weird because it's kind of like a negative thing. You slap yourself in the face with a resistance band, but it turned out getting me a free trip to LA with my brother and some prize money. So it was like, in my thinking, it was like the good Lord's way of saying, you're on the right path. Things are finally starting to happen that are good for you, so continue on this path. And basically my driver has been, I was telling you about when I looked myself in the face and I was embarrassed October 2011, that person that I can still picture in my head drives me every day because I basically want to be the opposite of him. He was somebody that would quit. He was somebody that wouldn't get out of his comfort zone. And my drive is to be the opposite of who that person is. And it's really worked. I mean, I've gone on and had a lot of fun fitness things happen in my life that we'll probably get into, but that's kind of the backstory. I don't know if I went into too much detail or not, but there you go.
No, I love it. I'm going to pull some of the things out here because I think it's important to recognize and highlight the key transformational moments in somebody's journey. And in my belief and what I've seen over interviewing now hundreds of people and time again in my own life and in other people's life, observing success, listening to books, is once you find a key principle, kind of like you said, a keystone habit, right? Once you find these things, that whatever that is, the principle behind it is applicable everywhere. And that's what's so important is for him, it was alcohol and it led to X amount of things. Maybe for you, the keystone habit is not alcohol, but it's TV. Maybe you just need to turn your TV off. Maybe whatever your keystone habit is, everybody has a different keystone habit. But if you were all to find out, hey, what is happening every night or almost every night for you to feel XYZ, right? Because the feeling is what we're chasing. And then you change that one thing. If you started going to bed 4 hours earlier, I will nearly guarantee you eventually you're going to start waking up earlier.
Yeah.
You start waking up earlier, you're going to find something to do when you're up earlier, whether that's reading more good books, studying, whatever. For him, it was working out. And I think most people that I've met with and interviewed and talked to, that's kind of how it starts. They start exercising more. And the funny thing is when you start exercising more, the natural reaction to exercising more, whether it's planned or unplanned, I've talked to people who intentionally try not to have this happen, but it just doesn't work. You start eating healthier. You start being more conscious about what's going in your body, regardless of, it's not even like you're trying. It's just like your mind, your endorphins, everything happens to where as your body starts getting healthier, it starts wanting healthier things. And without even realizing it, you change what you're intaking because your body starts asking and responding to different stimulants. So those keystone habits, I invite you, whoever's listening, what are your keystone habits? What are you doing for the last 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed? And if you altered those or removed some of that, some stuff you just need to straight up remove. But if you altered it, what would happen the next day? Mm-hmm. And if you just do it one day, you won't recognize it. But if you do it consistently for a week, a month, you remove that, you're going to find some major transformation in your life. The other thing that I love about this story is journaling. And if you've listened to my podcast before, you know, like me, journaling is my favorite form of meditation. It's something that I have committed to have a journal entry for every day of the year, this year, and moving forward. I had that for a long time in my life. I lost it after the birth of my first son. And I'm recommitted to it because it changes my life and helps me process through so much through journaling. I think, and I don't know if you've thought about this ever, but I would love to read that book, right? The cool thing about experiences, because we were talking a little bit before this about like, how have you written all these books, or what books are you writing, Sam? These are the types of things that I'm publishing things about my life. I'm publishing stuff that for X amount of time I've spent already writing it. You already have a book written. The amount of transformation of people who could read that, identify with those feelings, and read it compound over and over and over and kind of highlight the mindset shifts, and then the transition the aha moment of, wow, this is my life. Everybody can go through that. And if that was a book, I don't care if it's 50 pages long, 100 pages long, whatever, and to then hear where you're at now, that's a true inspirational book that I think could hit the New York Times bestseller, right? Because it's a story of something that millions of people in America can relate with.
I hear you. And you know what? I don't even know. I don't know if you know this, Sam, so I'm excited to bring it up. I actually, and I was going to get into this too, I actually wrote a book about exactly what we're talking about.
I didn't know that, but
no, I didn't know if you did. I was kind of excited to drop that bomb on you. So,
good bombing.
It's called The First 15, and the reason it's called The First 15 is, and you alluded to it perfectly, I talk about owning the first 15 minutes of your day and how that can propel you through the rest of the day, the rest of the month, the rest of the year, the rest of your life. So it's something that I strongly believe in, which is a morning routine. And just like you said, Sam, I think that's so cool about a lot of people, in my opinion, have amazing stories. And I would ask your audience and anybody that's listening, don't dim your light on your story, because I've talked to so many people, I'm sure you two have too, Sam, and they tell you their story and they say, well, it's not really that big of a deal. It is that big of a deal. Like, there's some incredible stories out there. And I challenge and ask anybody listening to this, don't dim your light on your story. You probably have a really good story, and if you want to tell it and self-publish it and put it out there to the world, because it's probably more awesome than you give yourself credit for.
Yeah, so even if you think your story is terrible, if your story, whatever it is, if your story could change one person's life, if your story could help one person find love, could help one person not kill themselves, if your story could help one person better their life, find the right person, whatever it is, if you could impact one person, would it be worth sharing your story? And that's the question I ask myself, and it just is. Like, it's worth sharing, because if I can help one person, it's worth sharing. If I can help a million, I'm thrilled, right? But if I can help one, that's important. So that's one thing. The other, I want to bring up one more thing that he said before we dive into some more, asking more questions about the story. But have you ever, right? And I'm asking anybody, your audience, right? But so many people think they can't be someone without substance or without something happening, right? Their story is not good unless they have a tragedy, right? There's so many things where we think we can't be somebody, we're no fun unless given a certain set of circumstances. Unless we're put in a certain situation, we can't be fun. And it's interesting. I just spent I was on an 8-day cruise with some friends a while back, and they were all drunk off their faces most of the time, right? And that's fine. Like, I know most of them, and they don't drink regularly, so it's not like a bad thing. But it's interesting that that's how they choose to unwind. And they're like, Sam, are you going to try this? Or don't you want some? I'm like, I don't need that to really enjoy myself. I don't need that to relax. I don't like everything that you're saying you're doing this for me is not, like, I do that without it, right? So it really comes down to, and you nailed it on the head, it's a limiting belief that you need something else. You need something outside of yourself to be who you want to be. You can be who you want to be right now, deciding to be that person. And if you're questioning that, please reach out to Matt, reach out to me, reach out to somebody who can coach you through that mentality shift. Because the unfortunate thing is, people always ask, well, why do I need a coach? Why do I need to pay somebody to help me? The reason is, and it's an old saying by, I believe, Albert Einstein, but the same mind that created the problem can't solve it, right?
Yeah.
All the inconsistencies in your thought processes. And I still pay for a coach because I'm still learning and growing, right? And as much as I think I progressed, I still am so off base on so much stuff that I talk to my coach and they're like, well, why do you think that, Sam? Why do you think that, right? It's a natural process. We always are going to be naturally limiting ourselves. And so we need somebody to help us break out of those limiting beliefs.
Well, I'll throw it out there too, because I actually have a coach for the business side of it. And also, since I do a lot of speaking, I have a speech coach. So I'm with you. I consider myself a half decent speaker, but I'm never, ever going to be perfect. And that's one of my favorite parts of speaking or business or anything. You can always keep learning and growing and getting better. So I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So without giving away too much, right? I'm not here to like have you share your whole book with us, but as far as morning routines, everybody hears they're important. I mean, there's going to be tons of people who listen to this and they're going to say, oh yeah, I know I should have a morning routine, but I don't. What is it that you've found help you get like really stick to your morning routine?
I think seeing the success of the morning routine in the first, I mean, you got to be a little bit patient, right? Like you need to give it at least a month or two probably to feel the full effects. But what I noticed, and the main thing I was focusing on, as you said, was working out. And what I noticed was not only was I looking better physically, but my energy throughout the course of the day completely shifted. And I went from, as you know, drinking until, let's say, 11 or midnight, waking up just in enough time to go to work and just kind of making it through the day instead of owning the day and crushing it and being excited to be out there in the world, to somebody who woke up earlier and then got in my 45-minute hour workout. And then people that saw me throughout the rest of the day could tell that day whether I worked out or not. If I had the energy, if I had a pep in my step, if I looked like I was healthy, they're like, oh, you got a good workout in this morning. And then the days, and it didn't happen often, but the days where I was kind of lazy or just didn't have that same energy, they knew, and they would call me out. They'd say, Matt, you didn't work out this morning, did you? And I said, no, I didn't. And it's just, I think feeling that energy once I started working out and just feeling the difference in my body, it made me a completely different person. It started to make me believe in myself more. Once I started seeing that success and realizing I can wake up earlier in the morning, I did it. I'm conquering alcohol while also making myself healthier. It's just, you can't help but build confidence in yourself because you're making these positive changes. And I would say to anybody who's looking to start a morning routine, and I mention this to everybody, you don't have to start with waking up an hour and a half earlier. I mean, you could wake up 10 minutes earlier and do journaling, do a meditation practice, just do something to help you gain a sort of take action on the day instead of waking up and flipping on the news and reacting to all the negativity that's happening in the morning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So along that lines, you talk about having a smile file. Kind of explain that and share how we can each build one ourselves.
Oh, I would love to explain that. That's like my favorite part of anything I talk about. So the smile file is something that, as I said, waking up in the morning and just feeling more energized instead of looking at your phone or seeing something negative. I encourage people to do something positive. And the smile file is basically examples of how individuals have positively impacted other people or the world. Or let me give you an example. Let's just say somebody in the workforce and they have their yearly review and their boss says that they did a great job, like they appreciate the work they're doing. Or if you volunteer and one of the fellow volunteers or people that you're helping say, hey, thanks a lot for coming out. Like, I appreciate you spending the time. Write that stuff down and put it in what I call the smile file, which is just a binder or folder or something where you keep examples of all these ways you've positively impacted other people. And it will probably take time to build it up. I mean, I've been doing mine for years. And the coolest part is what I encourage everybody to do is in the morning, read one of these examples of how you've basically helped the world become a better place. And you can't help but just feel better and just think, wow, like I did that. I positively impacted the world. And it helps in twofold. It helps you, your energy is much better. You're standing up straighter. Your posture is probably better because you're more confident. And then you will most likely, this is what I've heard a lot of people that I've coached happen, is you start looking for more ways that you can positively impact other people. It just happens because you have this routine now and you're thinking about the smile file. How can you help out other people? And it's a completely, as you said, it's a mindset shift that can be really powerful.
Yeah, and I think it's a simple thing to recognize that the more you focus on something, the more that's what you become.
Yep.
And that's that's a huge, man, I just, without going into the religious talk conversation, I think that is one of the most powerful things in our lives is what you choose to focus on, you become.
Yeah, I agree.
It kind of gets into the idea of creation. There's a lot of people who are scared of the idea of creation because they think, man, I don't want to. If I have to accept that I'm the creator of everything that's happened, then that's terrifying to me. And for me, it was terrifying at one point in my life when I realized, man, I have the potential to create whatever existence I want in my life. It's daunting. You're like, actually, I don't want that ability, right? But then there comes a point where you're like, okay, I see it. Now, how do I do it? And the how do you do it kind of is daunting. Once you understand that it's an exciting thing, then just like you, when you were reading your journal and you found out, oh man, this is terrible, right? This is crazy. But on the other hand, like everything that happened was your own creation. And the realization that everything that happened was your own creation comes with the realization that you can create whatever you want because you already created. And so understanding that that's the thrilling, probably one of the most thrilling things in my life that I could ever share with somebody is that you're a creator and what you create is yours. Now, whether you like that or not is kind of up to you.
Yeah.
But the fact that you were able to create and are able to create, that's fulfilling and exciting.
I love that. I totally agree. And I mean, I think about it as like a lot of people ask me if something goes wrong, I try to blame myself first. And what I mean by that is, to me, that's empowering to me. If I think of how I can change myself to fix whatever the issue is, then I'm empowering myself. And some people will say, well, Matt, like if you blame yourself all the time, like doesn't make you feel bad? And I say, no, because that means I have the power to change myself to change whatever is going on that's a problem around me, versus what I used to be like was pointing the finger at everybody else. It's his fault, it's her fault, it's their fault. And that's just empowering all of them. I can't change who they are, but I can change who I am.
Sure. And I think that comes down to what your definition of the word blame is or fault is. I had a conversation with my brother and he's like, oh, it's their fault. It's their fault. And I'm just like, okay, well, I think it's like, it sounds like we have a different definition of the fault, or at least the meaning and what the implications of it. For me, I'm with you. Blame or fault, that's a fantastic thing to have. If you can blame me for everything in my life, I'm thrilled because that means it's mine to change.
Yeah.
But the moment you start saying, oh, well, that's not your fault, it's that person, and you're trying to take power from me by saying that my situation is somebody else's fault, I don't allow that, right?
Yeah.
My situation is my responsibility, and I love that I can have control over that. Nobody can take that away from me. So with that being said, what kind of led you then to start competing in all of these different things? Like there's a level of like, I like to get fit. And then there's a level of, okay, I'm going to go compete with the world on how fit I am.
Yeah.
What became how'd you get onto American Ninja Warrior? How did you go about setting these 2 world records? Like what exactly transpired that made you even think about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think the first one is I have been competitive since a very young age. And I think having an older brother who beat me in a lot of things growing up, it just helped me with my competitive drive to keep, I figured if I could beat him, like I could beat anybody. So it was fun. And I think I had that ingrained in me at a young age. But the other thing, I think the combination of that and getting these small wins that I had after I stopped drinking and just seeing the positive effects that my body and mind and energy were having, it just made me start to think, well, what else can I do? If I can stop drinking and I can start working out, then, that's a good start. It's a good base. But how far can I take this thing? And the American Ninja Warrior thing actually happened because I love the show and my cousin loved the show. And she said to me one day, just kind of like out of nowhere, hey, Matt, you ought to try out for that show. And I hadn't even really thought about being on the show before. As you said, you see some of these shows and you think, I don't know how that person got on there, but it's cool to see him on TV. But I never thought until she said that I could be one of those people on television. But then I started looking into it, and you see really you fill out a bunch of stuff online, and then they have you send in a 3-minute video where you kind of show off some of your physical abilities, but also it is a TV show, so they want to make it very entertaining. And I played the angle of, I'm a diehard Pittsburgh fan, as we joked around before. I'm a Steeler fan. I love my city. And I played up the angle of this sort of Mr. Pittsburgh. And I had a terrible towel. For those of you that know the Pittsburgh Steelers, we swing around this terrible towel at Pittsburgh Steeler games. And they must have loved it because I will say this. After I sent in the video and I sent in my form, I thought I was going to hear back within a month or two. And it actually I think it took 4 months. And I almost forgot about even submitting video and stuff. And I'm driving home from work one day, and I get a phone call, and she says it's, Leslie from American Ninja Warrior. I almost drove the car off the side of the road because I couldn't believe they called me. And it was really funny because they said, we love the video. Sorry it took us a while to get back to you. We'd love to have you run the course and be on the show. And I said to them, that's great. I don't train every day like an American Ninja Warrior. Like, I don't have something set up in the backyard that's American Ninja Warrior-esque. So I said to her, how many months do I have to train before you tape the show? And she started laughing, and she said, we're coming to Pittsburgh in a week and a half. So I kind of had a crash course. I went to this gym that's like a gymnastics gym. I think I went 7 times in 9 days to try to get my skills up to be on the show. But I guess one of the takeaways I would say is, I know it's cliche, if I could do it, anybody could do it, but it's so true. I mean, if there's something that you want to do and you want to go after, the first step is actually putting yourself out there and submitting the video or sending in the form or shooting a Facebook Live video, whatever it is. Being on that show helped me really stretch my comfort zone because I didn't consider myself, quote, an American Ninja Warrior. But then you get asked to be on the show after you submit the video, and it becomes real. So really, if I could submit a video and be on, anybody out there in your world should definitely go after whatever they think they might not be able to get.
Yeah, I love that. There's so many things in life that we can just like kind of think about doing, maybe put in a little bit of effort, but if we're not focused on it, we'll forget that we forget that it even happened, right? And it wasn't really a goal. It wasn't a passion project of yours. It was just something that you did. But it's those little things, the little things that you can be a yes man for. Now, there's some people say yes to everything. Other people say no to everything. I think there's a healthy balance. And first check and say, hey, is this in alignment with my values? I would say yes to as much as you can that's in alignment with your values, and say no to everything else because it just doesn't matter. It's not in alignment. And this not only helped Matt get out of his comfort zone, but this, I mean, I don't know at what stage you became a public speaker, but like being able to get out of your comfort zone, that's like one of the number one fears of people, which is weird. I love speaking in front of people, but it's one of the number one fears. But when you step out of your comfort zone enough times, you start to just say, okay, yeah, whatever, I'll do whatever, and I'm going to be successful, whatever, because I'm willing to do it confidently, even if I blow it.
I know that's so. I didn't even know we were going to go here, and I'm so glad you brought that up because that's so. As you said, public speaking. Now, maybe you've been blessed with just always liking public speaking. I'll be completely honest. I used to hate it and be scared to death of it, and it took me a lot of, as you just said, getting out of my comfort zone to feel comfortable in front of 4 people, let alone 400 or 4,000 people. So, but as you alluded to, Sam, I think one thing, if you are trying to get better at public speaking or anything that's out of your comfort zone, keep stretching yourself and pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone. And I actually coach some people to become better speakers. And the first thing is speak. Just keep getting on stage, finding places to speak. I love Toastmasters, is a great organization that helps you get out there. You're nodding your head. You might be in Toastmasters.
I'm speaking tomorrow in Toastmasters.
Oh, yeah? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Toastmasters, that organization has changed my life. But keep speaking, but also, as you said, do other things that are outside of your comfort zone. It doesn't have to just be speaking. Sign up for a show, shoot that live video that you want to do. Whatever pushes you outside of the comfort zone, yeah, it starts to become normal after a while.
Yeah, for me, the one thing that I'm working on right now that still is karaoke. I'm not super confident in my singing voice, and if I close my eyes, so this is interesting. I have one of my business coaches. He puts people through this experience where you get a chance to kind of dance, create a dance, and go dance in front of everybody, and they cheer for you, which is great. And they're all doing the same thing, so they all.
That's awesome.
But I have no problem going crazy, dancing, however, like just really losing it. Like I know a lot of people do when they're drunk or high or whatever, right? I have a lot of fun, but I keep my eyes closed. And because it's like the ostrich in the sand, right? It's like if I can't see you, you can't see me. I'm just having myself a good time, right? And so something I've been working on through karaoke is being able to not just stare at the TV screen or close my eyes and sing the song, but really engage with the audience while I'm singing. And it's terrifying for me. Like still to this day, it is terrifying. In my family, many of my siblings have recorded CD album. Like they're good at singing. My family's good at singing. It's not something that I've ever felt that I even remotely match up to on that level. And so I don't sing a lot. But that's currently, if you're wondering, where is Sam stretching himself? Karaoke is something that stretches me every time I do it, and it's terrifying. And I still choose to go do it because I know
that's awesome. I think that's so cool. Okay, I got to ask you a question now. So you're stretching yourself with karaoke. Do you feel more confident now in Toastmasters or when you're giving a presentation because of stretching yourself so far in karaoke?
Oh yeah, totally. Because it helps you be more comfortable with the sound of your own voice and more confident projecting, doing different tonalities, speeds, everything. It helps you gain more command over and more comfortability with it. So it has enabled me to really engage with my audience more, get more emotional, get more excited, everything, the more that I've done karaoke. So it's a good thing, but that's where it comes down to kind of these keystone habits. They're principles that are applicable everywhere. And when you start making one change in one area of your life, it bleeds into all the other areas of your life. And that's what's so cool about transformation and really being able to identify those smaller things. I'm curious as you transition, because I know you have a 9 to 5 that we're not going to talk about. Okay. But on the side of your 9 to 5, through this transformation, you've started a whole nother kind of personal brand for yourself through different things. Tell me a story or tell us a story rather, of your biggest naysayer, the person who just like didn't believe in you the most, and how are you able to silence them and just still go forward and do what you know that you wanted to do?
Oh, that's a really good question. And I'm going to answer the question. I'm not going to skirt around it, but I'm going to use it because it was tough for me. So when I was in this party mode in my mid-20s, I had 4 really good friends. And these 4 friends were my drinking buddies. They were my buddies that I would, Friday after work, they would meet up at my house or I'd go to their house at 6 p.m. and we would start until we all passed out that night and then do the same thing Saturday and a lot of Sundays. So these 4 people in my mind became my close friends. And what I didn't realize was, the way you act, you attract people like how you're acting, or that's how I believe in the law of attraction. So I was drinking Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to attract people that are doing what I'm doing. So one of the most powerful things that happened to me was once I stopped drinking and I told these 4 guys that I have to stop, like I'm going in the wrong direction, I need to do this. They did not believe me that I was going to stop. And they thought, oh no, he'll stop for a week or 2 or whatever, and then he'll be right back out with us. So they did not believe I was going to do it. And they didn't know how serious I was about it. And I'll say 2 things. The first thing I'll say is I wish I would have taken them aside, maybe even one by one, and had a really tough heart-to-heart about, it's not their fault. I mean, it's my fault that I'm putting myself in this situation. I want them to still be in my life, but I just can't drink anymore with them. So that may have even empowered them to make a decision to make changes themselves. But the other thing I'll say is, and as I think this is where your question is going, if you make changes in your life, I don't care what change it is, you're probably going to have some people that are pretty close to you, if not very close to you, come down on you and say, why would you change? Why are you doing this? It'll never last, and I think people that say that, maybe they're scared that you're going to get ahead of them and leave them behind, or maybe they're just not comfortable in their own skin. I don't know what it is, but if you're listening and you want to make a positive change, make the positive change. You will never regret it in the long run, but be prepared for some of those people that may challenge you, even if they're not even trying to. They may just be trying to keep you around or keep you, quote unquote, safe whenever you need to fly. You need to let yourself go and make these positive changes. So the naysayers would be those 3 or 4 close friends that I had that I've still talked to 2 of them. I don't see them very often, but what I noticed was my whole group of friends started shifting once I started getting healthier. I became friends with people who wanted to be healthy, who ate healthy, who worked out, who did marathons and obstacle course races. So that shift in close friends was really helpful, and I almost upgraded the people that I was hanging out with.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's the key, is being willing to step away and be committed to the change, and recognize that they're not dissuading you or telling you no, you can't do it out of it's not out of disbelief for you, it's out of protection for themselves, and that's something we all have to deal with. And what I would encourage you to do really is think about the people listening. Where in your life are you currently being a naysayer?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Because we think, oh yeah, all these people are naysaying us, right? But hey, where in your life are you currently inviting other people not to achieve their dreams? Where are you currently not believing in somebody else's ability to do what they say they're going to do? And then write a note and start today to change your level of support and start believing in them. Because as you start to believe in others, kind of goes back to the very beginning of your smile file, right? As you start to believe in others, you're naturally going to start believing in yourself, and that's the key. So even if you can't believe in yourself yet, start by believing in others, and start becoming somebody who is a yes sayer, somebody who believes in somebody rather than a naysayer. Because I mean, it's a progression. In fact, my book, the Fuel Your Legacy: 9 Pillars to Build a Meaningful Legacy, it actually starts out with haters and goes right into believers. Like what the transition is a natural transition to go from, and part of growth. So I'm curious, if you were to focus on a specific habit, mindset, or behavior that you have used to create your meaningful legacy, what would that be? And then how can we adopt it into our lives more fully?
Ooh, that's a really good question. And actually, I'll answer that. I'm thinking about this naysayer thing. You got me thinking now. If I'm being a naysayer anywhere in my life, I wrote that one down. That's really good. But habit to fuel your legacy. I would say, I think one of the most powerful habits, and I think it does go along with journaling, is having a gratitude practice. I think being grateful and focusing on what you're grateful for, what I'm grateful for, it's a mindset shift that I didn't even fully believe in until I started doing it. And my gratitude practice is really simple. I basically, right after I meditate, I'm typically sitting on the floor, sitting in a chair, eyes closed, and I just try to put myself in a situation where I felt extreme gratitude in my life. And I typically do 2 of those scenarios where I feel that gratitude. And then the third one, I always do 3 things I'm grateful for. And the third one is typically something very small. It's not some massive thing like a big vacation or something. It's just the fact that I was able to see the sunrise that morning, or I got a chance to work out, or I woke up. I mean, I got another chance at life. I'm alive. So I think having a gratitude practice, and it doesn't have to last 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, it could be 1 minute. Just helps me anyways, get my mindset right. And then as I go throughout my day, as you're saying, we become what we focus on. If you do a gratitude practice in the morning, as you go about your day, instead of thinking about things that upset you or you don't like, you start thinking things about that you're grateful for, because you have this practice already started. So I'm a workout nut. So the two things I'll say are gratitude practice and exercising in the morning, just because I think if you don't do it in the morning, there's too many excuses later on in the day that we can make up to avoid the exercise. So fueling your legacy, I'll go with gratitude and working out.
Awesome. I love that. So when people are transitioning this, I know you're a coach and you speak on stage about helping people kind of chase their best self and become as much as they can, chase their potential. How important is understanding how money works in that transition?
Oh, I think it's huge. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question, because I think if you can't, I mean, that's the difference between, I guess, making it a hobby and making it a business, right? I think if you can find a way to do what you're passionate about and also you're earning enough income to let you do it, then you basically have it made. And I think the cool discussion is, I'm sure you have friends like this too, Sam. We probably both have friends that earn $50,000 a year working for themselves, and they're the happiest people in the world. And you probably know people that make $300,000 a year and they hate their lives and they come home miserable every day. So to me, if we're talking about entrepreneurs, or even if you work for a company and you are completely fulfilled and happy in what you're doing, like I am when I'm on stage, like you are, Sam, probably when you're coaching and doing your podcast. And if you're making enough income to support you and your family, I think you got it made. And, you want to put some aside for later down the road for your kids' school and your retirement and all that. But, I think you need to find a way, if you're serious about your passion and whatever you want to go after in life, to monetize it at least to some extent, or else it just becomes an expensive hobby probably.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that's part of that is understanding how money works and the role that it plays in building your legacy. It's not that your legacy is financial. And that's a common thing that I get. Well, what do you mean by legacy? Because legacy is a financial word. I'm like, no, legacy can be financial. They can have financial legacy, but almost always money needs to fund your legacy, but your legacy is not necessarily the money. Your legacy, it could be. I mean, there's people who I would say their legacy is the money. I would think the Rockefellers is somebody who, like, people know them for the money, even though, like, the Rockefellers, this is crazy, but we probably would not have gasoline engines right now or gasoline as a whole without the Rockefellers. That was their business, was the transferring and the creation of gasoline. Like, everybody uses it. Nobody knows the Rockefellers for oil and gas. We all know them because of the financial legacy they left, which is fine. But, like, we should be eternally grateful for their
yes.
society, right? And so you get to choose what people remember you for, and that choice should be lived now. And so that we're getting into the final fun things about this, but I'm curious, how could we support you? How can we get access to you? Your book, where do we find that? What's the best place to find Matt and kind of participate in your vision and your legacy that you're building?
Yeah, I mean, the book is on Amazon. It is called The First 15. Feel free to check that out. I'm very active on Instagram if anyone wants to follow along. And as Sam already said, if you have questions or comments, reach out to me. As he knows, I try to respond as quickly as I can. So on Instagram, it's just my name, at Matt Scoletti, Scoletti. And I'm happy to hopefully inspire some people, help some people, and interact with all of you on there.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So this is called Legacy on Rapid Fire, this next section. Now, the one thing, the caveat that I'm having to put in here is the first question you have to clarify.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Fair enough.
So Legacy on Rapid Fire, what do you believe is holding you back from reaching the next level of your legacy?
Myself.
Yeah, everybody says that. That's why you have to clarify.
Oh. Wait, ask me the question again. I think I got a good answer, but go ahead.
What is holding you back from reaching the next level of your legacy?
I think myself, because I need to continue to, as we're talking about upgrading the people that you surround yourself with, I think I need to keep stretching my comfort zone in who I get in front of as far as speaking opportunities. So I do have a coach. I'm going to join at least one organization of all speakers. And I think being around other individuals that are playing the game at a higher level than me, I think the only way to grow is if you want to get better at tennis and you're playing against a worse tennis player, you're not going to get any better. So I want to keep getting in rooms with people like yourself, Sam, that are playing the game at a high level and are in their business and their lives. They're where I aspire to be. I don't want to be ahead of everybody that's in the room as me. So I think continuously pushing myself out of my comfort zone to surround myself with people that are much more successful than I am, because that's where I want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So what is the hardest thing you think you've ever accomplished?
I think the hardest thing I've ever accomplished is becoming a professional speaker, and that's because of, kind of going back to the same question, I was holding myself back. I'll tell you a quick story, because this may help your audience. In 5th grade, I got volunteered to give a speech to run for student government. I didn't want to run for student government. I didn't want to give this speech, but my class volunteered me in 5th grade. So I get up in front of the whole school. There's like 400 people in this room. My whole speech was 5 sentences. It was like a minute long. I memorized the speech. I thought I had it down. I left the piece of paper in my locker, but I thought I had memorized it enough so I can go out there and give it. I got the first 4 sentences down, and then I blanked on the 5th sentence, and I stood there like a dope in front of 400 people. And the reason I'm telling you this story is I told myself the story of I suck as a public speaker for the next 20 years of my life because of a sample size of one screw up, when if I'd have just had my speech in front of me, I'm sure it would have gone fine and I wouldn't have thought this. So I told myself, as you said, this limiting belief, I told myself this story that I was not a good public speaker. So to get over that story, to me, built confidence like I couldn't even imagine once I started succeeding in front of a group.
Yeah, love that. So what do you believe your greatest success at this point in your life has been?
Greatest success is, I think my greatest success is the relationship that I've helped build with my wife. So that was, I'm a family man, so we don't have kids yet or dogs yet, but I'm sure in the future, who knows. But I think the relationship that we share has been the greatest feeling and the greatest success. I don't think any business or public speaking success could compare to the relationship I have with her.
Awesome. I love that. I think before this conversation where we were talking off camera, he asked me, hey, what do you get excited about in the morning? And I said, right now, probably not what I want to get excited about. I still get most excited about waking up and helping clients. I love helping people make the mindset transformation about how they view and their relationship with money. I think it's the most fulfilling thing for me. But I want to wake up and get excited about that I get to see my kids and that I get to see my wife. So I love that is your great success to this point in your life. I would say my family is my greatest success right now, but I don't know that I am mentally treating them that way, which is an issue.
But that's great that you acknowledge it. I mean, that's how you can build on that, right?
Yeah, for sure. So what are 2 or 3 books that you would recommend to the Fuel Your Legacy audience?
Oh, it's 2 or 3 books. So actually, I have them right behind me. Actually, I'll give you 3 books. So these are my 3 favorite books. 2 of them, actually, one of them has been around for a while. 2 of them are newer. Think and Grow Rich is one of my favorite books that has ever been written. I have that. There's like 3 or 4 books that I will reread once a year, and Think and Grow Rich is definitely one of them. Second book I'll give you is called The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. And he basically, as you know, I'm a morning routine guy, and he talks about how waking up early can completely change your life. And the way that he writes the book is cool because it's almost like a fictional fairy tale style that he writes the book, and he tells a great story while also giving you awesome tips on personal development and business development. So the 5 a.m. Club. The last one I'll give you, which is a really intense book, is called Can't Hurt Me. And it's written by a guy named David Goggins, who is a former Navy SEAL. And he's one of the most intense, crazy guys you ever hear about. But hearing his story of just really difficult childhood, he was extremely overweight, turned Navy SEAL badass guy, it's a really, really strong, powerful story I think a lot of people would enjoy.
Awesome. We'll have some links to those in the show notes here, and then also links to where you can get a hold of and find Matt on social media and his website there. So here's my favorite question of the whole thing. This is pretty much why I do this podcast, because we get to pretend that you're dead, and that's exciting. No.
All right, I'm dead. Good.
No, you're dead, right? So we're going to pretend you're dead, and we're now kind of viewing into the future 6 generations from now. So your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren, they're sitting around a table discussing your life, Matt. They're talking about what your legacy is. What do you want your 6th generation, great-great-great-great-grandchildren, what do you want them to be saying about your legacy?
Wow, that is a good question right there. I like this question. What do I want them to be saying about me 6 generations down the road? I think one of the things I want them to be saying is no matter how many setbacks you have in your life, you can absolutely still succeed in anything that you do. So, I mean, I consider myself to have failed, I don't even know how many hundreds or thousands of times, but all in all, if you look at the whole picture, I feel like it's been a pretty darn successful life, and I expect to do the same in the future, meaning that when we do these things that I want to try to improve on, I'm going to fail 10, 20 times. But if you succeed once, then it's seen as an insanely huge success overall. So I would say down the road that that would be one of the things that I would want them to say is to basically keep failing, and don't be afraid to screw up, because in my opinion, I don't think you can do anything great if you never fail and you never continuously fail and finally figure out whatever it is to have the right success. So yeah, I think that's what I would want them to say. The never give up style attitude, but even more than that, don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to fail, because if you keep going after your passion, you'll eventually get there.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on this show and sharing your words of wisdom, your story. I'm excited for everybody who has the opportunity, or takes the opportunity rather, to go get his book and to learn from him, be on social media. He is definitely somebody who's excited early in the morning on Instagram. So if you're looking for people to follow, you're going to open your phone, most people. If the first thing you see is the excitement of Matt Scoletti, then you're on a good track, because he's up, moving, and excited about it.
That's true. I love doing those videos, by the way. Those are fun.
I appreciate them. Awesome. Well, we'll catch you guys next time on Fuel Your Legacy. Thanks for joining us. If what you heard today resonates with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me, and if you do give me a shout out, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Thanks to all of those who've left a review. It helps spread the message of what it takes to build a legacy that lasts. And we'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy.